Hi guys, welcome back or welcome if you're new. My name is Tiana and I'm the maker behind Also Stitched, and today we have knitting podcast episode number 4. I think it has been around 3 or 4 weeks since my last knitting podcast, and there are quite a few finished objects that I want to share with you. Let's start with what I'm wearing because this is the first finished object. This is Salty Days sweater by Veronica Lindberg, or better known as Kutovakika. This is also part of the knit along that is hosted by Alicia from Lovely Day Knits, and this is my first and at the moment only finished object that I will have as a part of that knit along. If you watched my last episode, you might remember I had 2 of them. We'll talk about the second in a minute, but at the moment this is the only one that will be finished as a part of the knit along. I made a summer version of Salty Days sweater because I live in Sydney, Australia, and I just didn't see this design in anything woolly because this screams spring, summer, and if I were to make it in a wool, I wouldn't be able to wear it in a spring or summer. I did it in a Drops Belle yarn, which is a blend of cotton, linen and viscose, and let me tell you something about the yarn. That yarn is so beautiful and so lovely to work with it, but after blocking, I don't know why this has turned into something so rough and feels like sandpaper. I'm not sure if it's the blocking or the washing. I did hand wash it with a wool wash. Maybe the wool wash is the problem. If you have any suggestions for anything better for plant fibers, please let me know. But this is fresh straight off the blocking mat and it feels rough. When I was working with it, it was so soft. It was drapey and flowy. It was beautiful to handle that yarn, but now this is not as soft. I hope with my body temperature or maybe a machine wash, I know this can go in machine, maybe if I do a machine wash, maybe it will soften. So I don't know. I love the yarn, I love how it feels when I'm knitting it, but I don't love it straight after wash. I'm gonna update you in the future if anything changes. Let's talk about the pattern. I did quite a lot of changes to it. First and obvious change is my neckline. So I have followed all the changes that Nora from Nora Knits did. She also has a Revelry project page that I'm gonna link down below in case you wanna follow her modifications that she did. She worked with cotton. Since this is just a summer blend, it worked perfectly for me. It is work on a 5mm needles, so it does give like an open gauge and lace is more like drapey than it wouldn't be if I were to work this on a 4mm, which this yarn is DK weight yarn, so it is intended to work on a 4mm needles. For example, when I was working my Eva tee, it was worked on 3.5 and that fabric is very thick compared to this. This is so nice and flowing. It was flowier before the blocking, let me tell you. Maybe it's not as flowy now, but it was better before blocking. I just hope it's gonna fix. This is a fun knit. There is so much going on here. It is very engaging. It is very addictive. You just wanna go and finish it. But then you get to the point where there is never ending ribbing because sleeves are all rib. There is a different ribbing section in the body. There is a ribbing section here, and then the bottom hem is done in twisted rib. The only complaint I have that I did wrong, I mean it's not wrong, is Italian bind up. I did it a bit tighter, so it was kind of sitting on my hips because that is the widest part of my body, and I thought I would go back and fix it, but I won't because I managed to stretch it with blocking, so it's falling over my hips. That was my goal. My goal was to have this as a summer outfit where it will just drape over my body instead of like a sweater that's in her photos, because on her it sits on her hips and it's bulging around her tummy, which if it's in the wool yarn it looks perfectly fine, but this being summery yarn, it just didn't look right to me. I needed to something drape over me. I could have possibly gone with a split hem because that is what Nora did. In her modification she also does the split hem. I think her bottom hem is finished differently. I didn't follow that mod. The only mod I followed was for the neckline and the cuffs because I didn't want a ripped cuff. I wanted my cuff to end at bracelet length, and it is the perfect. You can tell this is what it looks when I'm standing. If I'm moving or doing anything else, it pulls out, and this is perfect. I love this. For a summer blouse, I don't need anything longer because it's gonna be too hot and it's gonna annoy me. So I'm perfectly fine where the sleeves sit. Nora just did the plain stockinette at the end, so it is just a natural roll edge. It is beautiful. She also added this round lace detail, same as this. This is part of the body lace, and she just incorporated that on the neckline and the cuff, and I just love it. I didn't go with a pattern repeat, so Veronica also does this diamond pattern repeat on the sleeve. I didn't want to do that because in the photos it kind of cinches the sleeve and it looks a bit weird in the wool yarn. Maybe it's better, but I didn't want that for this summer yarn. Overall, I'm really happy with how this looks, how this wears. This is fresh off blocking mat, so I didn't have a chance to wear. I'm gonna probably report back after in my next knitting podcast just to confirm if this yarn is gonna soften up, because I want it to be the way it was when I was knitting. I just hope it will. The color I used is light beige, and I think it's perfect summer blouse sweater combination. I just love it. I would love to make another one, but I don't think I need this design in a woolly knit because I don't see myself wearing something this lacy and open in winter. It doesn't give winter vibes in Sydney. I mean, nothing gives winter vibes in Sydney because winter in Sydney is nowhere near winter in Northern Hemisphere, but oh well, still, I prefer it in this material and I'm happy to have it. Since this is done on 5mm needles, the gauge is open more than I would prefer it for this material because it looks a bit messy, but it is also due to this yarn. I'm not sure if you can tell, this ribbing is not like perfection just because of the yarn and how open gauge it was. I didn't plan yarn for this project, so I had this yarn in stash. I bought 9 balls just to be safe because I knew I wanted to make a summer t-shirt, but I didn't have a project in mind, so I was like, better safe than sorry, let's buy 9 balls. 450 grams should be fine for any t-shirt I decide to make. And when I did my math and checked the meterage and everything, I figured out that I have enough to make this sweater. I was playing yarn chicken, and honestly I would lose yarn chicken if I didn't go with the modification that Nora did, because the neckline is just the basic ribbed collar, but it is double and it's folded, so that would be a lot of knitting compared to what I did. This is not a lot of knitting and this has saved my yarn. Same with the cuffs, that would take a lot of yarn. So yes, I would lose yarn chicken if I didn't go with all the modifications. I think I'm left with like 2 or 3 grams of yarn, which was perfect. Even if I decide to go back and fix the bottom, remove the Italian bind off, I would probably even shorter the bottom hem and go with this plain stockinette curling hem. I think that would be perfect. In case it bothers me, I might go back and fix that, but for now I'm fine. I'm just gonna see how it wears. So technically 450 grams of drops Belle yarn gave me this garment, which is super budget friendly. This yarn costed me only $36 and pattern cost was around $12 roughly. I'm not sure because I bought it off her website and I bought 4 patterns at the same time. I didn't get invoiced, so I don't know exact amount I paid for each pattern. So this whole garment technically costed me only $48, which is pretty cheap. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So with this 450 grams, it only used 1080 meters. I was off gauge with this sweater. Kika's gauge is 19 and my gauge was 21. It's probably because this is a summer yarn and it's very light compared to the yarns that she's holding. I think she's holding 2 yarns together. So those 2 stitches did affect how this fit me. I started with a size medium, knowing that this garment is gonna give me 30 centimeters positive ease. I have not measured this post blocking, so I'm just gonna insert the numbers because I'm gonna measure after. But as I was knitting it, I only had 9 centimeters of positive ease, which was giving me garment of size extra small. It still fits me because of the huge intended positive ease. I'm just getting less, and I'm happy with this because as a summer blouse it fits perfectly. I'm curious to see how much positive ease I got from blocking, and the only thing I aggressively blocked was the Italian bind off. Everything else I just left as is. So it is just the perfect summer fit. I love this. It's so beautiful. It is elegant. I can wear this easily on a linen trousers, on a jeans. It can be dressed up, dressed down. It's really beautiful. It is more like a transitional piece. I can wear this during spring, autumn, even in summer. I could wear this because we do get colder evenings here, and usually wherever you go here, I mean, it's not just here, it's everywhere. Everything is fully air conditioned. I usually run cold. Even just sitting here, I'm under aircon and I'm cold. I usually put this when I'm knitting here. I usually have this blanket around me and I'm using it even in the aircon just because I'm cold. I run cold while my family runs hot and I'm always freezing. So yeah, it is something that I think I will get a good wear out of, and I'm so happy with it. It is beautiful, and I enjoyed being part of the Kutovakika knit along with Alicia from Lovely Day Knits. We had a beautiful chat group, and it's lovely to see other people working on different things. I'm still thinking, should I cast something on, but we'll see. I don't want to put a lot of pressure on myself because I want to finish all my whips that I have by the end of the year. And also, if you watch my crochet content, you might have noticed that I announced I will be doing Vlogmas. So I will be filming 24 or maybe on 25 days. I'm not sure. Is it gonna be 24 or 25? I will be doing Vlogmas for whole December. I'm starting 3 days earlier just to give myself a head start with editing and being on time. It's gonna be stressful, so I just hope I will manage. It's gonna be both crochet and knitting content. It's just gonna be here in this room, me crafting, chatting, and taking you along with my day, because my days are spent in this room. This is what I do literally 24/7. If you're interested, you can join me. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be short videos because I don't have time to produce anything more than that. I still wanna work on my knits and I still wanna work on my crochet. I have things that I wanna accomplish. It's just gonna be short videos to keep it simple for me and to keep it manageable. Let's talk about my failed knit along project that it's gonna be frogged. It's not frogged just because I wanted to show it here, but after this podcast it's gonna be frogged just because I wanna cake it, just to give yarn some time to get out of the noodle phase, so it's easier for me to work with it when I revisit this back in autumn. So here is my Stripe Hype sweater by Veronica Lindberg or Kutovakika. It was for the same knit along. This is how much I managed to get. I actually also finished the collar, but I didn't wanna break the yarn, so I just frogged it immediately. The reason I am frogging this, it was the same issue that I had with Salty Day sweater. I started with size medium and it ended up being extra small. It fits me in the body, like width-wise. It is perfect, but it doesn't fit lengthwise. That's the biggest problem, because this much ribbing just cinches me in a non-flattering way, and I just didn't like that. So it's gonna be frogged. I was thinking about frogging this when I was here. Yes, I was thinking about it because I knew it might be very small on me, but I was scared that I was playing yarn chicken. So the rust is the perfect example of how much yarn I needed. And I thought I was playing yarn chicken, which is obvious I didn't. That's why I didn't size up, because I was sticking to the yarn recommendation and I was scared to go 2 sizes up. Initially, next time I'm gonna make this, I'm gonna make extra large to fit me medium, because at the moment I was making medium and it fits me extra small. And I have more than enough yarn to do that. But in the end, I'm happy because I have plenty of yarn to go 2 sizes up. So we will just repeat this. When I started working on this, it was a slog. It was really hard, it was tedious, and the moment I decided that I'm gonna frog it, I missed it. I missed working on it, and I was kind of craving it. This is such a beautiful yarn. Cotton Merino from Drops is so beautiful. Honestly, on my hands, it feels more cotton than merino, but I don't mind it. The fabric is beautiful. This is merino, so it's nice and soft, but also it gives that cool to touch feel from cotton. And the colors are so beautiful. Last time I was talking about this, I didn't have the other colors, so here are blue and pink that will go on the sleeve. So it's gonna go blue on top, pink on the bottom, and this is gonna be so beautiful. I'm so looking forward to have this in my wardrobe because I will get so much wear out of this. This is gonna be perfect even for winter. We don't have a very cold winters. Our winter temperatures, like day temperatures, can go up to 20 Celsius degrees, so it's gonna be perfect. I see myself wearing this so much, and the colors are fun, and the knit is beautiful, the knit is fun. So yeah, this is gonna be a future project. My only concern is I might run out of the white off-white yarn, but I'm just not gonna be picky because this is all striped. Even if I order a different dye lot, it's just gonna be on the sleeves, and with all these colors I'm not gonna stress if it's a different dye lot. It's just, I will be fine. But I might not play yarn chicken with white, I don't know, we'll see when we get to that. Let's talk about the next finished object, and this was so much fun, which I'm sure everyone recognizes. This is Sweet Shop Blanket by Laura Penrose. I enjoyed this so much. What I had in my mind is to finish one square a day, and honestly there were days when I was doing more than one. I won't be able to show you the full size, but you will be able to see the B-roll footage of the colors and the size. If you follow me for my crochet content, then you know that I did this for a charity. This year Litsa from Coco's Crochet is donating to the children charity, and I have jumped on board, and that's why I'm making all of the beanies. I made this blanket, and I'm making a couple of blankets. This is all done in acrylic yarn. It is the Spotsaver 10-ply yarn from Spotlight. It is all from my stash. It took only 400 grams of yarn, which is only 2 skeins of yarn. And if you have ever shopped in Spotlight, you know that you can buy most of the yarn when they have sales of 50% off, which is exactly what I did. That yarn is usually $9. I paid $4.50 for one skein, so this whole blanket cost me only $9. This yarn is really nice. It's very soft and squishy and thick. Pattern calls for 8-ply, but I did it in 10-ply. It is easily modified because she gives you instructions how to do that. And it was even better for me because I did less stitches. I don't gonna go talk about the numbers, but I'm just gonna say I did 30% less stitches than she did. And it's so easy. It is all garter stitch. It is a lot of short rows, but I would encourage you to do it if you are uncomfortable with short rows. After finishing this blanket, you will just master the short rows. It is so easy. There are 4 squares that you're doing. The first square is once made, and everything else is just building on top. There is no seaming. You don't make squares separately. They're all made in modular construction. She doesn't mention that in pattern, but this is technically modular construction. When you are picking up stitches and continuing working on the project without seaming the project in the end. For the border, she suggests I-cord border or just leaving without. I didn't want to leave without because I do see that my pickup stitches are kind of pulling in. Maybe you can see better on this side. You can see here how it's pulling in, and it was very obvious. I mean, it's obvious even with the border now, but it's definitely better. And at the same time, I didn't want to spend a lot of time doing I-cord border because I-cord border is a fun knit, but it takes a long time. What I did crochet border. I'm also a crocheter, so I took an easy way out. So for border, I did 1 round of half double crochet. crochet, and after that I finished with reverse single crochet, or also called crab stitch. It just gives a beautiful finished edge and corners, and I'm really happy with how this looks. Honestly, it is just the perfect border for this blanket and I love it. It was super quick and easy. Let me show you the back, because I'm sure you're curious what the back looks like. There is a lot of ends to be woven in, and yes, I was doing them as I was going, because if I had left this would be a lot. But I was smart. I was weaving as I was going. I actually started the Steven West technique. How does he call that? Steven, Steven, something like that. I forgot the name. It is a method where you, let me find the first square. It is a method where you are just twisting as you're working the next color. It's here, but I didn't like it. It's very obvious and it's bulging out. So for my other squares, oh, even here on the green one, you can see how obvious it is. This is Steven West method and I didn't like it. I left it because it was all done. I just couldn't go back and do it. And even here, so I did it on a couple of spots. I'm gonna clip this once I block it, but I'm gonna block it somewhere in March, April before the donation, because I want this to be freshly washed before I donate it. For example, here, this is where I woven ends. I mean, you can see them here. Yeah, it's visible, but it's visible because this is 10 ply. It's very thick yarn and you just cannot hide it. But I mean, overall, the back looks really nice. I wouldn't call this reversible blanket, but at the same time it's not ugly or messy or anything like that. So I do see myself making another one of these. I already said that. I think I'm gonna do black and white version depending on how much yarn I'm gonna be left, because I'm making another blanket also for donation and it's gonna use up a lot of my black yarn. And if I'm left with I only need one skein and I think I have 6, so I think I'm gonna be fine. If I'm left with one skein, I'm gonna make another one black and white, also for charity. It is fun, it is enjoyable. This is only 24 squares. I finished this whole blanket in 17 days. That's how addictive this knit was, and it was so nice. I love the garter stitch, just how squishy this is, and I don't mind acrylic yarn. I have sensitive skin and acrylic, nice acrylic. Not every acrylic is soft, because the other blanket I'm making is the Red Heart Spotsaver. That is disgusting yarn. I will never work with that yarn again. But Spotsaver is nice and squishy and soft, and with wash this is even better. So this pattern cost me around $12. Yarn was $9, so this whole project was $21, but considering how much I'm gonna use this pattern, it's gonna be well worth. I also do have her Stella quilt blanket, and I actually might make that one in the black and white. I'll see, because I want to do something different and it's very similar to this, so I might just do that one because it's really beautiful. It is interesting. You can do a lot of different motifs. It is designed to be as a quilted but knitted quilted blanket with the quilted motifs, but you don't have to quilt, you're just gonna knit them. So I might actually do that one just to give it a bit of difference, and yeah, just to test it out. Do you think I've stopped at one blanket? No, I didn't, because this year I have been stash busting a lot. I have so much yarn in my stash, and I do have a lot of acrylic which I was buying for business, especially this yarn. I actually didn't bought this yarn for my business. I bought it because it was on a massive sale. All these Lion brand cakes were on sale for 3 skeins for $15. I just went crazy. I bought so many. Just watch one of my videos where I talk about this back in June. It was crazy. Let's talk about the yarn first before I reveal the full blanket and the pattern. So this is Lion brand Mandala Ombre in the colorway Happy. As much as this looks happy, as much as it's fun to knit with happy colors, I'm not a colorful person. I don't have colors in my house except for this room, which is full of yarn and threads, but everyone else in my house I'm pretty minimalist, boring, beige, basic, and this just wouldn't fit. I asked even my daughter, but I'm crocheting her a different blanket in this yarn, which is black and pink. That's more her colors. So I was like, what am I ever gonna do with this yarn? I bought 6 skeins of this and I have no use for it. And then I realized I want to make another blanket for charity. Why not? It's happy colors, it's beautiful, it's soft. This yarn is even better than Spotsaver. It is so nice and soft. And I decided to find a free pattern, and I did. This pattern is called Easy Diagonal Knit Baby Blanket, and it is by Gina Michelle. I'm gonna link my Ravelry pages all down below if you wanna have a look into this pattern. This is diagonal pattern, so technically you start from one of the corners and work yourself up until you are halfway through your skein or skeins, and then you start decreasing, and that's it. It is so simple, it is very addictive. There are some purlings because it's worked flat, but it's engaging. I don't mind purling. I purled combination continental, so purling for me is not an issue. It is actually not even slower. I feel like I can purl same speed as I can knit, so I don't have problem with that. It was engaging to have the lace details because breaks up the stockinette and it gives this beautiful pattern. I love how this looks. The only thing that is out of the ordinary is this big section because there was a factory knot in the skein, and I think I was working this way and there was factory knot in the red, and they attached new red, but then they started the colors reverse. So I went from purple to red, then red, purple, and colors just went on the other direction. It's something I just didn't want to play with. I didn't want to cut, I didn't want to frog. I was just, it's gonna be fine. It is a bit inconsistent, but it's fine. I just didn't want to overthink that. There is no border because border is worked at the same time as you are working the pattern. It is just a garter stitch border, and it's simple and it's easy. Lovely. It is work on 5mm needles, and the size I got out of it is 40 each square or 100 centimeters. I wanted to use 3 skeins for this, and I had 1 partial skein, but in the end I was left with a bit of leftovers, so 3 skeins would be 450 grams and I used 370 grams, so I'm again left with a bit of partial skein. I think that happened because I started knit tighter, and as I progressed I loosened up and I used less yarn. That's why I was left with a bit more yarn than I wanted, but oh well. Technically it used only 2.5 skeins, which is only 780 meters. Not bad, and the size is good. You can see here from here it's 100 centimeters or 1 meter or 40-inch square. So it's perfect baby blanket, and it's going to be lovely for donation for charity that we are working for. I forgot to mention that this was on my needles for only 7 days, and I think that was the period when I was working only on this, plus I was crocheting for my business because it was my market season and I was focusing on crochet plushes, and the only knitting I was doing in between was this. So this was only 7 days and it's pretty quick. That's a quick make. And my last 2 finished objects are attached to my current whip, so I'll just have to be careful. This is Yarn Cozy Light, and it is by Natty or Natalia. I'm sure everyone knows about her. She is a YouTuber. She's very well known in knitting community, but she's also a crocheter. Her content is all around crochet and knit. She doesn't crochet plushes, she's only into wearables, blankets and things like that. So this is Yarn Cozy. It is so functional And I did this just for the purpose of these yarns because this is my first time working with hand-dyed yarn, and this is so soft and slippery. I mean, this yarn, I'm gonna talk about the yarn when we come to my whips. I don't like to wind my balls very tight because then the yarn loses elasticity. So I like to wind them a bit looser, not like completely loose, but just a bit looser. And since this is such a soft merino, it was falling apart. And then I remember that I watched Natalie talk about this yarn cozy. I need this because this is so handy. As the yarn cake is getting smaller and smaller, this is just shrinking. I'm not gonna pull this out to show you what it looks like because my cakes will just fall apart. But I'm gonna insert a picture of what it looks like before it is stretched around the cake. This is essentially like a sock, like you're knitting a sock for your yarn. And as the cakes get smaller, this is just cinching in and keeps everything nice and tidy and together. And I love this. This is so practical. You can see my cake is getting smaller and emptier, but it's just keeping in place. Before that, I had all the yarn unraveling and getting loose like a jellyfish, and it was so annoying, and it was not portable. Even if I'm just putting it back on my table when I'm not working it, this is so easy. This is a game changer. I feel like everyone who is working with a yarn that needs to be wound up in a cake needs this. So far, this is my first time working with a hank yarn that I need to wind up in a cake. Usually all my yarns were already caked or in a ball, but this is a game changer and you need this. So the pattern is called Yarn Cozy Light, but I bought a bundle which cost me around $16 because this one is for 100 grams, but she also have a bundle where you will get pattern for 20 and 50. Those are two separate patterns. You get one pattern for 100-gram balls and you get one pattern for 20 and 50 grams balls. It is called probably just a mini, but in the bundle you get both of them. So this is for the 100-gram ball. She has it in a 3 patterns, so you can get just the ribbed one or you can get a ribbed one with the 4 cables. A third one is striped one. I went with the cables just for a bit fun, so it's not like daunty ribbing, because at the same time I was ribbing this and I was sick of ribbing, so I just wanted to give a bit of a difference and engagement to this. It was so much nice and fun. That's why I did 2 of the same ones. This is my leftover yarn from my socks that I did at the beginning of the year, and I was left with 35 grams. The pattern calls for 25 grams, and out of those 35 grams I managed to get 2 of them, and I still have 5 grams left over. So one of the yarn cozy took only 15 grams of yarn, even though she calls for 25. I mean, maybe her yarn was a bit thicker or heavier. It doesn't matter. I'm happy I managed to get 2 of the same ones, and they are such a beautiful stash busting or scrappy project. If you have some leftover of sock yarn, this is how you can use it. It is so handy. So this is all done in a fingering weight yarn, and it is done on 2.25 mil needles, which is usually what you use for socks. So those 15 grams, it was total of 60 meters of yarn used for this. Since this was my scrap project, I don't know how much this yarn cost me, and I wasn't bothered. Honestly, I made this in 1 day, but I wasn't monogamously knitting on this. It is really quick project and I'm really happy with this. I don't have any leftover yarns at the moment. I do have some scraps, but it's not enough to make another one. As soon as I'm gonna have some leftovers from my other projects of sock yarns, I'm definitely gonna make more of these because these are so useful, and I do recommend you guys make this because you will not regret it. You will definitely not regret this. Alright, since the yarn is already in my hands, let's talk about my whips, because this beautiful yarn is part of my whip. If you have watched my previous knitting podcast, I did talk about buying this yarn for my birthday when we visited Skein Sisters. I'm not sure if you're gonna get a better look on these colors. I apologize for that. This color, I think it's called Anemone, and this is Pink Pixel. These are both Skein Sister fabulous sock yarns, and what I'm making is Painting Honeycombs Shawl in a Small Honeycombs by Stephen West or West Knits. And here is my progress so far. If you have watched that video, then you know that this wasn't planned like this. I bought also a beige skein to go with this. Here is the beige skein. It is such a beautiful color. You can tell it fits my color palette perfectly, but unfortunately it didn't work with these two colors, not the way I wanted it. I have a picture. I did frog the project. There was not enough contrast, which was actually my goal. I wanted a low contrast shawl, but unfortunately that beige didn't work with these peachy colors. I was actually convincing myself for a long time because I did a good progress on that, and then my husband came to this room one day and he was looking at it and he said, "Oh, that doesn't look really nice. What's that?" I'm like, don't tell me that, because I was convincing myself it's gonna be fine, it's gonna be fine on a grand scale, it's gonna be fine, because I started with this and then I would transition to this. It would be like a gradient, and I was convincing myself once I get to this color it would look better. It might, but still the first part didn't look good enough. So I decided to frog it and use only these two skeins. The pattern calls for, I think, 3.5 mil needle, and I sized up to 4 because the pattern calls for more yarn than I ended up having. I started with 4 skeins thinking I'm gonna go bigger than it was intended, and my first project I actually sized the needle down because I knew I had a lot more yarn than the pattern called for. And for this time I sized up a needle size because I had less yarn and I wanted to be more drapey, and I'm loving this. I love the drape. So this is a fingering weight yarn on a 4 mil needles, and it is nice and soft and drapey, and I love it. And this is going to be aggressively blocked. You can see how the honeycombs are looking now. Once you block them, you need to aggressively block them to open the honeycombs. So it's going to get even bigger. I'm just going to finish it with 2 skeins. Whatever size I get, it's going to work. I think pattern calls for more contrast color than the main color, but I just weighed this and they are weighing the same, so I assume I'm not using more of this than this, so we'll see how this will continue. This is working really nice. The color palette works beautiful. Am I a huge fan of this? No, because this is too bright for me. I don't wear these colors. That's why I wanted something more this to make it more subtle, to tone it down a bit more, but unfortunately I'm left with these colors. I do see myself wearing this, like, not as much as I wanted. I could probably use it around house here when I'm sitting, because usually when the aircon is on I get cold around my arms and I can just cozy up. We'll see. I might even be brave to wear this out. You can see how the colors are working. I mean, it's beautiful. There's nothing wrong with this color or this yarn. It's really beautiful. It is just too bright for me. But who knows? I might embrace it one day. We'll see. I enjoy working on this. It is very simple, engaging. The pattern repeat is 20 rows and they are getting bigger. So yeah, I'm not even halfway through. So there is plenty to go. This is what the back looks like. If I stretch it out, you will be able to see the honeycomb, but you see how it's pulling in. This is mosaic knit technique, where you only ever work with one yarn. You never worked with 2 strands of yarn at the same time, like a color work. You only ever work with 1 strand of yarn. For example, if you're working with a peach, you're just slipping the white parts and that's it. It's very simple, very easy. It works really fast. Since this is on a bigger needles than the yarn usually calls for, it's very open gauge and flowy and soft. This is really nice yarn, I have to admit. Even though it is a sock yarn, it's really soft. It is fine merino wool with polyamide and it's nice. It's really lovely yarn. It's beautifully hand dyed. It is Australian small business, and I'm really happy that I have supported a small business here from Sydney. So I'm left with 2 skeins of beige yarn. Technically I could return this one because it is still in a hank and I can do it. I'll see. I'll give myself some time. I have 90 days to decide. I will give myself time to decide what I want to do. The other skein I have already wound up, so I won't be able to return. In case I manage to return this, I would probably just make socks out of the other one. If I don't return this, I might make just a basic plain shawl in one color. We'll see. I still have time to decide what I want to do. I don't mind having this in my stash. It could be a beautiful basic wearable shawl. Like, this is something that I would easily wear in public, while this is too busy unless I want to embrace it. I mean, I could always wear it on a plain white t-shirt or something like that, because anything else would be too busy. We'll see how that will go. The best part for me is I'm the process knitter. I'm enjoying this process. I enjoy working with this yarn. That is the most important thing for me. So the reason I went for this shawl is because I was watching 2 sisters. It is Renee and Rachel from Table 10. They have a beautiful podcast. They are so fun to watch, and they were making theirs in such a beautiful colors. I wouldn't do that just because that would cost a lot of money. I have to admit, even these 4 skeins cost me $160, but to get what they were doing, they were changing colors for every honeycomb. I would probably have to have 5 or 6 skeins. That would be a lot. In a hand-dyed yarn, that is a lot. They had a lot of ends to weave in, and I didn't want to do that. I want something simple because I'm not cutting my yarn. I'm carrying my yarn along the I-cord edge. I think you can see all these strands, but they're only visible when I stretch it. Honestly, you won't be able to see them once this is blocked and done. And yeah, I just wanted to make my life easier without weaving all these ends. That's why I'm doing it without changing colors for every honeycomb, because even Stephen West did this. All of his shawls that he made, they are all, every single row of honeycomb is a different color. But I do like their colors. They did such an amazing job with choosing the colors, and it looks like chef's kiss because it is so autumnal and beautiful. I would totally wear their choice, but we'll see how I will go with this one. I will report back, of course. I feel like everyone is doing a mystery knit along with Stephen West, and I'm not huge fan of mystery knit alongs because, for example, if I had joined this year's mystery knit along, I would regret it, honestly, because I didn't like the end result of the shawl. It is just not me. It is just not my style, and I would enjoy the process. Let me tell you, I'm the process knitter, and I would totally enjoy the mystery, the unknown, the excitement about the clues. I would totally enjoy all of that, but I wouldn't enjoy the end product because clue 3 just wasn't my style. It just wasn't me, and yeah, it ruined everything, honestly. It ruined everything for me. That's why I went with something that I knew that I would wear as a design, not necessarily the colors. I have to just embrace the colors, but as a design, this is more me than this year's mystery shawl that was very busy. I'm still looking back into some other mystery shawls that I might do retroactively, but we'll see. I just can't decide. They all look very busy. I mean, they all look very busy when you spread them, but when you have them around your neck, it's totally different story. They are not as busy when you wear them as when you showcase them open. But oh well. I got my dopamine in with this. Everyone is doing Stephen West and I am, so I'm happy with this. I really enjoy this knit and I enjoy this yarn. I'm definitely gonna enjoy this object even if it's just around my house, which is where I spend 99% of my time. So, and my last whip is gonna be really quick because I literally started this last night, so there is not a lot to show. It's barely there, but let's share it. So since I finished with this and since my other sweater is getting frogged and I wanted another sweater or t-shirt on my needles, and honestly I had to push myself to do this one because I just wasn't feeling it. I was procrastinating doing it, but I have to do it because summer is coming. Today is 25th of November and summer will be in only 5 days. Summer in Australia starts 1st of December. Unlike the rest of the world when the seasons are changing on 21st or 23rd, everything in Australia starts on the 1st. It was a bit unusual for me, but oh well. Alright, so summer is in only 5 days and I am making Cumulus T-O neck in Knitting for Olive pure silk. When I was buying everything from Knitting for Olive, I bought pure silk because I wanted to make a t-shirt, to test the yarn, to see how I like it. And what I planned with this yarn was Cumulus T-O neck by PetiteKnit. Let me give you some close-up. I mean, there's nothing to be shown. You can barely see anything because this is so tiny, literally nothing. I am doing raglan increases. Usually when I do raglans, this is how I separate my raglans. So yellow is sleeve, green is body, and this is just easier for me to distinguish where am I. Knitting for Olive pure silk. This is my first time working with it. I bought it just to test it, to give it a go, to experience the yarn, and it's not fun. I feel like everything that I have bought from Knitting for Olive so far, I have been disappointed. I mean, everything that I have worked with so far, I have been disappointed. Let's finish with the pattern because honestly there's nothing to talk. Cumulus T-O neck. There's nothing to say. It's a fingering weight t-shirt done in a pure silk. I'm doing it in a recommended yarn. It's just gonna be a plain t-shirt. Nothing more to say, nothing else to see. It's done on a 3mm needles. I'm working size medium. At the moment I'm off gauge because I'm knitting flat. I'm gonna check my gauge when I am in the round. At the moment I'm making size large, but it might change once I am in the round and it might go back to size medium because usually I'm spot on with PetiteKnit gauge, but I think it is the yarn that is causing me an issue. Even though I am a tight knitter, you can see how open this is. It's just, yeah. Let's talk about the yarn. Pure silk. First of all, this is not like mulberry silk. This is barrette silk. Barrette silk compared to mulberry silk, it is a huge difference. Mulberry is soft, silky, shiny, beautiful to touch. Barrette is everything opposite. It's rough. It's like you're holding a sandpaper. It's dry. It has texture to it. It's not soft. Let me try and show you if you will be able to see the texture in this yarn. Can you see these dots in this strand? Well, I'm twisting this. Now that I'm twisting, can you see all these dots in the strand? Yes, it's definitely very obvious. The texture of this yarn is very obvious. It has like a dots and it's very uneven and it's very rough, like a sandpaper, and it's not fun to knit with. As soon as I started working on this, I went online and searched some reviews. What are people saying about this after the blocking? And everyone says that it's gonna soften up, that it's gonna be so much nicer than it is straight out of the ball. Because this doesn't even look nice. It is uneven. It gives uneven stitch definition. It is really rough to work with. I started on my Chai Goose because I wasn't sure what I want to do. Then I switched back to C-Knit Curve bamboo needles, thinking it's gonna give me more resistance in case the silk is slippery, but this silk is not slippery. I'm now contemplating going back to Chai Goose just so I can have it easily slip. I might stay on this just for the tension because when I work on wooden needles, my tension is nicer and I feel like I need to work slow with this just because the tension is uneven and I am perfectionist. I am very neat, and if it's not tidy, I don't like it, and so far I don't like it. But again, this is the part where I'm knitting flat, so I'm just gonna continue and hope once I join in the round it's gonna get better. This is a raglan construction, but you start with a flat knitting while you increase for the raglan, because you're shaping shoulders and back without doing short rows. So you're just knitting flat back and forth, increasing without short rows. So it's very easy, very simple. Then you will join in the round and just continue normal raglan increases in the round, separate for the sleeves and body, and easy. It's actually very simple construction. It is just going to be a long knit because it's done on 3mm needles, and this yarn is not enjoyable, and I have to work slowly just to get a beautiful even tension. So yeah, I have 5 skeins, which should be more than enough, and even if it gets larger than intended, I'm still gonna wear it. It's just gonna be a basic t-shirt, and I'm not too fussed about it. I'm gonna finish it because I have no other purpose of this yarn. It is in my stash. I want it out of my stash. I want this before summer. This is not gonna be done in 5 days before summer, but I hope it's gonna be done before January, where the highest temperatures are gonna start, so I will still have 3 months to wear this. Even more, sometimes even April can be hot enough to wear t-shirts like this. But yeah, it is just the start of the Cumulus tee. It is not the nicest experience of the silk yarn. I don't think my experience will change. I hope the wearability of this garment will change after I block it, but that's all TBD. We'll discuss that in the future. And that's it, guys. That's my last whip. At the moment, I have no other things planned to cast on, at least not right now. I want to finish that shawl. I'm gonna work on that Cumulus tee, and then my Vlogmas is starting in just 5 days, actually less, because I'm gonna start filming 3 days earlier. So in only 3 days I'm gonna start filming my Vlogmas, which will be combination of both knitting and crocheting. So I have a lot to do. I have a plan to make at least 1 crochet plushie a day. I want to make daily progress on both of my current knit whips, and I want to make progress on a charity blanket that I have been neglecting for a very long time. I think I started that blanket back in June or even maybe May, and I've been working only on markets on that blanket because I don't like yarn, but I think I only have 7 granny squares left, and I want to have those granny squares done, and I want to have the whole blanket sewn in the Vlogmas. That's my goal, to finish that blanket. I also have another crochet whip that I have neglected since July or August. It's a blanket that I'm crocheting for my daughter. I want to do at least 1 round on that blanket daily just to give it some progress. I won't be able to finish it during Vlogmas because I'm making a massive blanket, and I hope it's gonna be done by the next autumn winter. It will. It has to be. Those are my plans for Vlogmas. I want to make progress on all of my whips, and I might try to finish them. Not sure about that Cumulus tee, but everything else I just want to wrap up 2025 and finish all of those knits, and probably take a couple of weeks off around the Christmas time and then go fresh in 2026. So yeah, if you enjoy Vlogmas style videos, please join me for this Vlogmas. It's gonna be short, sweet and fun. I'm gonna try not to fail. I'm already anxious if I'm gonna fail, but I'm gonna try. It's gonna be rough because 24 days is a lot, and life happens, hormones happen. My mood is not the same every day in the month, so it's gonna be challenging. I might not be able to talk to you every single day. You might just get to see the snippets of what I'm working through the day if I'm not in the mood to talk to camera. It's normal. I mean, we don't have to be camera ready every day, so yeah, stay tuned for that. And thank you so much for watching, and until next time, happy crafting.